When I returned, everyone was grabbing breakfast in the communal kitchen. I was so frightened I didn't know if I should eat, but I had all of my things packed, and as the first group started out the door, I headed out with them. When we got outside, the sun was not yet up, and I realized it was pitch black. I was thinking to myself, how are you going to start this journey when you can't even see? The women were talking about how this was their second or third Camino and how it was something they had looked forward to. So as we prepared to leave on the journey, I put my headlamp on. The veteran in the group said, "Oh my gosh, the one thing that I needed, I forgot to pack. I don't have a headlamp." And I thought to myself, thank you, God. "You can borrow mine," I quickly stated. I gave her the extra headlamp and we started on the way. She knew the journey, but she didn't have a headlamp. This led me to think about how sometimes in life we think we have it all together, but we need others to get started on a journey. Someone else may be able to allow us to have something to launch us into a new path in life. I felt full and delighted that I could assist us in starting this journey in connection with another pilgrim. As we left, we talked. Quickly the sun came up, and slowly we started to separate. We walked, each of us separate, on our own separated slowly. Some walked faster and some walked slow. Some were on the same page as me, and I thought to myself how quickly people leave you. People who you feel like you were dependent on just a short time ago, and there was no way that we could have gone on without them. How quickly they can leave you because you're different. You must part ways. As we get to what we consider the make or break stage, your part of the journey either takes you to the mountain or the valley. As I approached my literal mountain, I thought to myself, what have you gotten yourself into? With your physical limitations, you will not be able to climb this mountain. Then something in me just said, just put one foot in front of the other. All you have to do is put one foot in front of the other. Just continue to walk. That's all you have to do is continue to put one foot in front of the other. I continued along the way, and then I realized I had no way of getting in contact with my family. The one thing on my list that I was supposed to do was check with my cell phone carrier to see if I had international service. So silly of me to get this far and not be able to let my family know that I am safe, but I still have peace. I was at peace in knowing that I was on this pilgrimage with God, and I had no time to listen to Him very intently. Listen to what He wanted me to do with my life. I met many people along the way. I tried to plan out walking 10 miles a day or 12 miles a day. The reality of it is you can walk as long as you want, but once you get to your end, there may not be a resting place. Then you must continue on your journey until you find a place to eat, to sleep, to fellowship, and to rest your body. It's a simpler time on the Camino. You will see people planning for the next day. You think, in my life, do I take time to plan for the next day? Do I take time to plan for the next year? When I will eat with my family? What I will wear to work? Walking along the way, you see farmers working and tending their flocks, milking cows, etc. We stopped at any hostel just to gain a little bit of respite. All the food they have is what they prepared for that day. So if there was apple pie and peach pie on the menu for the day, and now there's only apple pie left, no one goes in the freezer to get more apple pie. No one goes in the freezer to get more peach pie. The innkeeper may say, what we have is what we have for dessert today. But it may be different tomorrow, and you make your peace with it. This is all we have, so you enjoy it. You enjoy every morsel because you know it was made with care and love. It was made for you that day, and you eat what is available to you. You have 1 or 2 items to choose from. The potato chips are baked fresh for the day. Some of the houses have restaurants linked to them. There are no televisions. As I walked, I learned to have a television is a rare thing among the Camino. I remember thinking in America, everywhere you go, there's a television. Everywhere you go, there's a car. Everywhere you go, there's another store or another item or something else for you to choose from. Things we don't really need. Things that you feel like you have to go on. Meaningless things. I thought about so many things I had at my home that I didn't even really need. Things that were sitting there that would collect dust from week to week. It could be serving a different purpose. One of the other beautiful things about being on the pilgrimage is that you realize there are so many different purposes for different things. Things you really don't need. How much could we have saved? How much more productive can I be? How much more can I embrace the earth? What if we just realize the things that God gives us and makes the most of that? As I continue to walk along my journey each day, I try to stay present and still, somehow managing the next day to get up and start again. When I finally got a text from my cell phone carrier that read, "Would you like to have international phone service?" text message, I could not press yes quick enough. Then I started to get a flood of messages from my family and friends. They didn't know if I had made it safely or not. The last text I received was from my daughter. I was so happy. I knew that if I texted her, she was so savvy, she would let everyone else know that I was okay. So I started to text her and let her know what was going on. But her last text stated, "Grandpa really wants you to come home." I thought, how strange. They could be missing me that much already. I had planned to be there 30 days along the way. I didn't know how my body would hold up, so I planned to be there that long so that I could complete my journey of 100 miles, even if I had to do it 5 miles at a time. I was determined to make it along the way. I texted my daughter back and said, I will come home as soon as I possibly can. I had to try to see how much faster I had to walk to get to the next town and be able to get to Church of St. James in De Compostela along the way. Ultimately, at the end of my journey, I would have to get a taxi back to the airport. That night, I promised her I was going to do everything I could to try to get home as quickly as possible. I laid in the hostel for that night after I searched for bed bugs and thank God that there weren't any. I washed my clothes for the night because the Camino, most people have 3 sets of clothes. The set you're wearing, the set you're going to wear to bed, and the set that you were going to wear the next day. Everything you need is in your backpack. You carry it, and there's nothing else that you would need. You have your eating utensils, toiletries, your clothing, your first aid kit, your walking sandals. Of course, you have to save space in your backpack for extra food in case you need it. One of the beautiful things about the Camino is that the Camino always provides. Bien Camino. I can still hear it so vividly in my mind. Bien Camino. I thought to myself, how can I get this journey over quicker? I have no idea why my father is so frantic about having me home. I started to plot a plan. When I got to the next city, after walking, I thought I can take a taxi for the next 10 miles. Who will know? It's my way, not anyone else's way, is how I can make this journey, not how others make their journey. So when I arrived at the final town, I ran into another young lady who appeared to be about 18 years old. She had to take a taxi from town to town because she had gotten blisters so bad she couldn't finish the walk. I consider myself blessed and grateful that at my age, I was able to make it that far. She was so disheartened that she had to stay in the hostel and wait on her friends to come. Journeying along the way, I also met a young lady who was with her mother. This was her daughter's first time traveling the Camino Frances. She did it alone the first time. She vowed that this time she would bring someone with her to share the journey with. I started to think about my parents. I was thinking, I must get out. I must get out. I went to a hostel to try to sleep. However, at this point, I was frustrated and tired. I just wanted to go home to figure out what was going on. The innkeeper at this hostel was very persistent in encouraging me to go to the chapel in the town to see if I could find some relief through prayer. I did. The church service there was for all the pilgrims, and at the front of the church were prayers. The sisters explained to me one of the baskets had prayers, a God's message to us, and we were instructed to write whatever prayer request we had on a piece of paper and place them in the basket. At the service, they would pray that God would answer all prayers. I got up to leave the chapel and became so overwhelmed I couldn't even speak. I wept and wept because I knew my heart was heavy. One of the things that troubled me most involved my marriage. It was in trouble. I didn't feel as if my husband loved me. I didn't feel as if my husband liked me. I didn't even know why I was married anymore. I wanted to ask God so badly, what should I do? But I was afraid of what his answer would be. I simply wrote on the paper, my marriage. The message that God has for me is so simple. It was that along your journey, you will always be prepared. You already know what those lessons are trying to teach you. A lesson along the way started at the hostel. When I got back to the house, there were a group of young children. They were extremely rambunctious, and they were irritating me. I thought to myself, I'm going to leave here, leave the hostel. The owner saw me and insisted, please don't leave. We are here to learn from each other. We can learn from each other. We can learn from our own frustrations. This is here to teach us that we are all family, and he was right. That's family. We learn how to deal with things together. But I had never thought of it that way before.